Have you ever reached a point where your head felt like it would explode from too many thoughts? Thoughts about your future, regrets about your past, and a storm of worries about what others might think of you. If yes, then you already know the feeling of carrying a mind that is simply too full. And this is exactly where our story begins. There was once a young man, full of ambition and pride, who traveled across the mountains to meet a famous wise master. This young man believed he had achieved much already. He studied hard, earned respect, and even built a reputation for being smart. But deep inside, he was restless. He wanted more wisdom, more peace, more answers to life's never-ending questions. Yet he never realized that his biggest obstacle was not the world outside, but the noise inside his own mind. When he arrived at the master's home, the old man welcomed him kindly and invited him to sit. The young man immediately began to speak. He talked about his successes, his struggles, his plans for the future, and his worries about failure. His words flowed without pause, like a river after heavy rain. The master nodded gently, listening but saying nothing. Finally, the master brought out a teapot and 2 cups. He began to pour tea into the young man's cup. The cup filled quickly, but the master did not stop. The tea rose to the brim and then spilled over, running down the sides, dripping onto the table, and splashing on the floor. The young man jumped up, startled. "Master, stop. The cup is already full, can't you see? It can't hold any more." The master looked at him calmly, with eyes as deep as the ocean, and said softly, "Exactly. You are like this cup, already full. How can I give you wisdom when there is no space left inside?" At that moment, silence filled the room. The young man froze, realizing the lesson hidden in this simple act. His endless pride, worries, and constant talking had left no space for true learning. To grow, he first had to empty his mind. The master's words echoed in the young man's heart. "How can I give you wisdom when your cup is already full?" He left the house that day deeply shaken. For the first time, he realized that the problem wasn't that life was too complicated, it was that his mind was too crowded. But what did it really mean to empty the mind? Emptying the mind does not mean forgetting everything or living with a blank brain. It doesn't mean becoming careless or lazy. Instead, it means letting go of the noise that does not serve you. Think of your mind as a beautiful room. Over the years, you have filled it with old furniture, broken objects, and piles of dust. You keep adding more and more, but never remove anything. Eventually, there is no space to move, no air to breathe, and no peace to enjoy. That is what happens when your mind is full of worries, doubts, fears, and regrets. Now imagine clearing out that room. You take away the broken furniture, sweep out the dust, and open the windows. Suddenly, light pours in. Fresh air fills the space. You can finally see clearly and breathe freely. This is exactly what happens when you learn to let go of the mental clutter. But here is the truth: most of us live like the young man. We say we want change, but we are unwilling to release the weight we carry. We keep replaying past mistakes, telling ourselves, "I should have done this differently." We constantly worry about the future, whispering, "What if I fail? What if I'm not enough?" And we compare ourselves endlessly to others, filling our minds with jealousy and doubt. And yet, we wonder why we feel stuck, why peace seems so far away, why happiness slips through our fingers. The answer is simple: our cup is already overflowing. Emptying the mind is not about losing knowledge, it's about making space for wisdom. It is about being open, humble, and present. Because just like a seed needs space in the soil to grow, your mind needs space to welcome growth, peace, and clarity. The young man finally understood. He could not move forward while holding on to everything at once. To receive wisdom, he had to release his pride, his fears, and his restless thoughts. Only then could his journey truly begin. The young man left the master's home with a new understanding. He now knew that wisdom wasn't about adding more and more, but about creating space inside himself. But the real challenge remained: how could he apply this lesson in daily life? After all, it is easy to hear wise words, but it takes courage to live them. The first step to emptying the mind is silence. In today's world, our lives are filled with constant noise, phones buzzing, social media updates, endless chatter, and our own restless thoughts. But wisdom grows in stillness. Even 5 minutes of quiet breathing, away from distractions, can calm the storm inside. The young man began each morning by sitting under a tree, focusing only on his breath. At first, it was hard. His thoughts ran wild, but slowly, he discovered a peaceful space within him that he had never known before. The second step is letting go of negativity. Every time you think, "I can't," or "I'm not good enough," you are adding clutter to your mental room. The young man learned to catch such thoughts and replace them with, "I will try," or "I am learning." He realized that the more he cleared away self-doubt, the lighter and freer his heart became. The third step is living in the present moment. Too often, we are chained to yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries. But life is happening right now, in this very second. When the young man worked in the fields, he focused on the soil in his hands. When he ate, he savored each bite. When he spoke to others, he listened deeply. Slowly, he discovered that living in the present was the key to real peace. And finally, the fourth step is humility. The young man once thought he knew everything, but the overflowing cup taught him otherwise. He now approached every teacher, every challenge, and even every mistake with an open heart. Instead of saying, "I already know," he asked, "What can I learn from this?" And with each lesson, he grew wiser, calmer, and stronger. Emptying the mind is not weakness, it is strength. A full cup cannot take more tea, and a full mind cannot take more wisdom. But once you create space, life flows in with clarity and purpose. So, my friend, whenever you feel lost or overwhelmed, remember the story of the overflowing cup. Stop, breathe, let go, make space. Because in an empty mind lies the power for greatness.